This is Tim Bryce with my column titled, Who is Running the Show? It's not much of a secret that President Biden's approval ratings are tanking. His policies on the economy, immigration, and foreign affairs has led to his decline. In front of the press, he shows all the signs of an old man in his dotage. For example, lost, confused, lethargic, and so on. His cognitive ability is now in question, as reflected in a recent Pew Research poll, whereby 56% of those surveyed thought the president was not mentally sharp. Even the foreign press openly questions his ability as leader of the free world, such as the Australian media. All of this makes you wonder, who is really running the government? Personally, I believe it is a group of young administrators fresh out of college who possess a zeal for the liberal agenda. Having junior people run things is actually not uncommon. To illustrate, in the medical field, particularly hospitals, doctors and nurses spend an inordinate amount of time inputting data into computers as opposed to treating patients. This means they spend less time practicing medicine and more time fulfilling government-mandated bureaucracy. So, who spends most of the time caring for patients? The junior people who do not have the knowledge and experience of the doctors and nurses. Because they are not burdened with the minutiae as prescribed by government, they become the primary care workers by default, which is a bit unsettling when you think about it. The same is true in any business or government institution, particularly something as large as the United States. The White House is primarily run by the Executive Office of the President, the EOP, as created by President Franklin Roosevelt in 1939. The office has traditionally been home to the president's closest advisors and run by the president's chief of staff, who is currently Ron Klain, an attorney, a loyal Democrat consultant, and a former lobbyist. Prior to his current assignment, he has been chief of staff for Al Gore and Joe Biden under Obama. He also actively worked as a senior advisor to Biden's presidential campaign. All of this means he is well connected to the Democrat machine and helped recruit the remaining office employees, of which are approximately 1,800, with an annual budget of $714 million. The EOP staff likely includes two types of people: retreads from the Obama administration who carry the former president's policies, and new zealous young people advancing the liberal agenda. I believe it is this group, the EOP staff, who is driving the country and making the hard decisions. The president's senior EOP advisors work in the West Wing of the White House. The remainder are housed in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, just a stone's throw away from the Oval Office. Also keep in mind the EOP has counterparts in the Congress, where there are approximately 13,500 staffers, of which in both chambers there are 7,405 Democrat staffers, 6,148 Republican staffers. The average age of a congressional staffer is between 32 and 33 years of age. As in the medical analogy mentioned earlier, it is these people who perform the legwork and heavy lifting for the congressmen and senators who are busy campaigning, attending committee meetings, traveling, talking to constituents, lobbyists, and the news media. Between the EOP and the congressional staffers, it is these young people who are running the show in Washington. Such people historically did the busy work for their bosses, thereby allowing them to concentrate on big picture items. However, based on the president's apparent lack of mental acuity, it appears someone is propping him up and making the decisions for him, most likely Chief of Staff Ron Klain and the EOP. They are likely getting input from former President Barack Obama, former Secretary of State John Kerry, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and Senator Bernie Sanders representing the liberal agenda. The fact President Biden cannot seem to stand on his own 2 feet without committing some gaffes is disheartening and cause for concern. In a way, it is reminiscent of a Star Trek episode titled Patterns of Force, whereby a weak and aging world leader becomes a puppet as his staff works behind the scenes to implement their agenda, not his. The comparison is uncanny. To me, all of this means it is time to call a constitutional convention whereby our governing rules can be re-examined and amended accordingly. This would take important decisions out of the hands of the Congress and put them in a specially appointed delegation with members from each state. Such a Congress has not been held since 1787, over 200 years ago. Think about it. This would be an opportunity to reform our electoral process, introduce term limits to eliminate the concept of lifetime politicians, lobbyist reform, and more. If you are waiting for the Congress to make such changes, don't hold your breath. It will never happen, and more people will arise to the presidency as puppets. For more information on a constitutional Congress, see Article 5 of the Constitution. Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.